All right, welcome. This is Financial Literacy with TC. I am your host, TC. As always, I want to thank you for joining me. You could have chose any podcast in the world to listen to, but you chose to listen to mine, and I'm always appreciative of that. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Today's topic will be about the new policy for business owners that took effect January 1st, 2024. For those who don't know, it's called the Beneficial Owner Information Reporting Act. Came in effect by the CTA Act that was passed. I believe it was back in 2020. And if you don't know about that act, it's called the Corporate Transparency Act. And one of the things that you should know is that the CTA establishes a beneficial reporting requirement for corporations, limited liability companies, and other similar entities formed or registered to do business in the United States. So, I wanted to do this episode for all business owners because I am in the financial institutions and I work with a lot of business owners who just formed LLCs, or they've had an established LLC or an S corp or a sole proprietorship, and a lot of them, are on social media or they don't follow what's going on in government, so they're a little bit behind on what's going on. So, with that being said, I wanted to take the opportunity to make sure that I'm educating business owners and future entrepreneurs on this policy that came into effect. It's already been passed and is already in effect as of January 2024. It's now March 20th, 2024. So I want to get into a little bit about what you can expect and what you can take from this podcast and be able to utilize so that way you're not falling out of compliance with your business. So let's get started. So the CTA, which is Corporate Transparency Act, it went into effect January 2024. So business entities that were formed prior to 2024 will have until January 1st, 2025 to comply with the reporting requirements. So what that means is you need to file your beneficial owner report with FinCEN, which is FINCEN, FinCEN. If you don't know what that is, they are FinCEN. All right. Let me get FinCEN for you. Hold on. All right. FinCEN is Financial Crimes and Enforcement Network. So all you would have to go to is FinCEN.gov, and you can find the beneficial information act, or I'm sorry, the beneficial ownership information report on fincen.org. So you would definitely want to do that. Now, if you formed your LLC, because I know most people in Pittsburgh, their LLC is what they're getting as far as their entity. You want to be able to report your beneficial owner within the first 90 days of you establishing your entity. If you do not, there are penalties that will be assessed to your business. I believe it's up to $500. And possible jail time. So you want to make sure you're avoiding that. So let's get into it. So, what information must be reported to FinCEN? The reporting company must indicate the type of report being submitted. The initial report, correction, or prior report are up to date in prior reports. So basically, you'll need to report the legal name of the company, any trade name. So if you're using a DBA, doing business as, you'll need to use that as, you'll need to report that. The current address of the business, and then the company will report the address from where it conducts business. So if you have a PO box mailing address, you'll actually need to report the physical address that your business where you do business at. For the beneficial owner information, you'll need to have the individual's legal name, the date of birth, the residential street and address, so where that person physically lives, a unique identifying number from an acceptable identification document, so probably like a driver's license, passport, etc. The name of the state and jurisdiction that issued the acceptable identification document. So PA is where you would probably be submitting that. An image of acceptable identification document. So basically, documentation. So, and then it has a list of whatever acceptable identification documents. A non-expired driver's license issued by the U.S. Jurisdiction. A non-expired identification document issued by local government. A non-expired passport issued by U.S. government. And if the individual does not have any three forms of identification described above, they may provide identifying number from a non-expired passport issued by a foreign government. Who is the beneficial owner of a reporting company? So, for those who have multiple peoples in the LLC, as a business owner myself, I actually have a business where I have multiple people who own 25% or more of the business along with myself. So, using myself as an example, we would have to list myself and my other members who own 25% or more of the business. We'll have to list them on the beneficial owner information document, and we'd have to report that they own 25% or more of the business. So for anybody who has a multiple member LLC, that will be something you need to do in order to avoid penalties and other sanctions against your business. So once you know that, an individual can exercise substantial control over a reporting company if they direct, determine, or exercise substantial influence over important decisions the reporting company makes. This includes senior officers, the reporting company, or individuals who have the authority over the appointment or removal of senior officers as a majority of the board. So that gets a little complex. That's probably for individuals who have control over a board. But most people who have either a sole prop or an LLC, you only need to worry about anyone who owns 25% or more of the business. So, are there any exceptions to the definition of beneficial owner? So, there are a few limited exceptions to who qualifies as a beneficial owner. Under the rule, minor children, parent, legal guardian is reported as a beneficial owner. Nominees, employees, future inheritors, and creditors do not qualify as beneficial owners. So there are some circumstances where individuals won't be listed or won't be defined as the beneficial owner of the business. Who is a company applicant of a reporting company? So there may be two individuals who qualify as a company applicant. And again, this is probably more sophisticated than your traditional LLC, but I'll read the definitions just in case, and this applies to anybody. The individual who directly submitted the document that creates the entity, or in case of a foreign reporting company, the document that first registers the entity to do business in the USA. The individual that is primarily responsible for directing or controlling the submission of the relevant document by another. So Probably, again, this is probably more sophisticated than someone who just has a traditional LLC or business. But it's basically if there's an apparent company that needs to report for the business. Is there a fee for submitting the BOI report to FinCEN? So for those who aren't familiar with FinCEN and submitting documents to the government, or you just don't like to do it, there's actually good news. You do not. There's no fee to submit your beneficial owner information to FinCEN. So there is a way for you to have this taken care of for you. So I know many people use LegalZoom or Taylor Brands, but if you actually just go on fincen.org by yourself, submit the beneficial owner information, you can save yourself, because I think LegalZoom charges you about $149 for them to file it on your behalf. And obviously, if you are a business owner like myself, for those who don't know or don't remember, I have a mobile notary business called TC Notary LLC. So a lot of my costs, a lot of my expenses, I try to minimize. And for me to file a beneficial owner report, I'm not trying to pay $150 to have that report filed on my behalf. So I'll go ahead and just file on my own. So that way there's no issue, there's no penalty, there's no fee. So something to think about if you are interested in taking care of this before the deadline. Again, those who had their business established prior to January 1st, 2024, you want to make sure you file the BOI, beneficial owner information. You want to file that prior to January 1st, 2025, or you will face penalties, fines, etc. If you established your business after January 1st, 2024, you want to make sure you fill out the beneficial owner form prior to 90 days from your establishment of your business. All right. So you can do your beneficial reports, your beneficial owner reports. You can submit that electronically through FinCEN. Again, it's www.fincen.gov. So you can definitely take care of that. Who will have access to reported beneficial owner information and for what purpose? So if you're wondering where this is going, if you're wondering why you need to do it, I'll reiterate. The CTA authorizes, so that is the Corporate Transparency Act, authorizes FinCEN, which is the federal crimes, to collect and share this information with authorized government authorities and financial institutions. In certain circumstances, FinCEN is actively working on the rulemaking process to establish beneficial owner access rule. So in layman's terms, they want to know if someone has a corporate company, they can't hide behind a lot of legality and different names. They want to know who's actually benefiting from this business, this entity. So they have to be very transparent about who they are and how they're gaining from this entity. It's kind of the simplest way I can put it to you. Let's see what else. Is a reporting company required to update information with FinCEN if the beneficial owner information changes? So let's give an example. I own TC Notary LLC. If I were to add someone to my business and give them 25% or more of my business, then I would need to update my beneficial owner information because now that's changed. I no longer occupy all of my business. Someone shares a percentage, it's more than 25%. So now that individual needs to be added and updated as beneficial owner. So what it says is, yes, you need to update. It must be submitted to FinCEN within 30 calendar days after the change occurs. Updates include any change to the information reported for the reporting company, any changes in beneficial owners, or the information reported for a beneficial owner, such as their name, address, unique identifying number provided in a BOI report. So, all that being said, if something changes with the business and the beneficial owner, a name, address, those things need updated. So you need to do that within 30 calendar days from the change. So that's important. Is a reporting company required to notify FinCEN if information on a BUI report was inaccurate? Yes. If there was some information that was put through the BUI and it's a mistake, then you need to let them know. Again, 30 days. If a reporting company files an initial report but subsequently becomes ineligible for exemption, do they have to notify FinCEN? Yes. Is there an annual reporting requirement? This is a key one. No, the law only requires an initial report, updated report when necessary, and correct report when necessary. So, for those business owners who don't understand, I'll repeat, you do not have to do this annually. You need to do it one time. The only other time you would need to do it if something changes from the entity beneficial owner standpoint. So let's give an example. Let's say there's a cleaning company and there's three members of the LLC. Obviously, you break it up. Two people own 25%, and the third person owns the rest to equal 100. Each one is listed as beneficial owner. Let's say someone dies, the wife of that individual now becomes the owner. She inherits the 25% from her husband who passed away. You would then need to let FinCEN know and update the beneficial owner information, because now it's the third individual is now somebody completely different. Name change, address change, etc. So you want to make sure you stay on top of, if something changes with your entity structure, somebody 25% or more owns the business, you want to make sure you update that and change it. Hopefully that makes sense. That's about as simple as I can put it to you. All right, and let's see what else is important in regards to this information. Will evidence be provided when a BOI report is filed with FinCEN? Yes. FinCEN indicates that a submission receipt with a reporting company's FinCEN identifier, if requested, will be provided at the time of filing. So, in order to make sure there's no hiccups, no bumps in the road, when you file, you should get a receipt stating when you filed, and keep that for your business record, so that way if they try to come at you and say you owe $500 a day, or you might need to do some jail time or anything that along those lines, you want to make sure you have your documentation showing when you filed and how you filed. So that's important. Let's get into the juicy part. What happens if a reporting company fails to report beneficial owner information? So I'm going to get real close to the camera so I can make myself very clear to you business owners who have not been privy to this information or have not done your due diligence. It clearly states the CTA provides that willfully reporting or attempting to report false or fraudulent beneficial owners, or willfully failing to report or make updates to the reported data shall be punished with civil penalty of up to $500 for each day that the violation continues, or criminal penalties, including imprisonment for up to 2 years or a fine of up to $10,000. So I'm going to pause for effect. If you have a business, and I'm just speaking locally to PA, but this is, countrywide. If you have a business, sole prop, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, and you have not filed your beneficial owner information, or you falsified, or you don't make the necessary changes within the time frame, you can face $500 per day, criminal penalties, 2 years in prison, and also a fine up to $10,000. Now, let's say you are a food business, a restaurant, catering, cleaning company. Can you afford to lose out on $500 a day, go to prison for 2 years, or be hit with a $10,000 fine? If you're well enough off where you think you can absorb that, be my guest. But I'm willing to bet that's not a penalty or a price you're willing to pay. So, all that being said, make sure you educate yourself. Jump on www.finsen.gov, read the information, or hell, contact me. This is Financial Literacy with TC. Drop a comment in the chat, hit the subscribe button, and link up with me. You can find me on Financial Literacy with TC on Facebook, Spotify, LinkedIn. You can reach me. And if you need help, I've helped multiple business owners already who didn't even know this information existed. Meanwhile, it's been promoted on social media and has been talked about for several years. But for some reason in the Black community, we have a hard time, trusting the government, and then on top of that, staying in tune with what changes are being made. I'm not going to get into a tangent about voting and all that stuff, but a lot of times our distrust and lack of or just ignorance can be a hindrance to us, because now we're missing key information that affects our businesses, affects our education, affects our livelihood, our housing, and we're not doing our due diligence to make sure we're not ignorant to these changes. So I just wanted to take the time to make sure that I highlight this information for those who aren't on social media. Hopefully you use YouTube and you'll be able to watch this and play it back and make sure that you understand how serious this is. All right, so lastly, we'll go over who do I contact if I have additional questions, and then that'll be it. So you can contact FinCEN directly. Like I said, the website is www.fincen.gov. They do have an email address, frc@fincen.gov. And then there is a phone number, but it goes to somebody in Massachusetts. So 1-800-392-6090. So I cannot wait, or actually, I'm going to say this. I hope it doesn't happen, but when I get that first person I come across who say they've been impacted by this and they use that key word or that key phrase, I didn't know. First thing I'm going to do is get on my phone, ask them for their number if I don't already have it, and say, and share this video or share multiple videos that I know exist, and say, if you only did your due diligence and watched and read and immersed yourself in building relationships, you could have avoided yourself. Hopefully it was all they get is a $500 fine and they move on. But the whole purpose of this episode today is to make sure you're aware. Make sure you can share this information with someone who isn't aware or who's just heads in the clouds and they claim they're too busy to get educated on things that could possibly impact them. We just want to make sure that you know this will impact your business heftily if you don't do it. Hell, if you have a good banker worth their salt that know anything, they might need to be informing you. I open business accounts every day, and I try to educate business owners about this so that way, they know. Hey, make sure you take care of business so that way you're not getting penalized. So, with all that being said, this is Financial Literacy with TC. I am your host, TC. As always, I want to thank you for joining me. And again, hit that subscribe button if you found this episode informational, informative. And I want to make sure I keep bringing you content like this. We will have another guest next week. But with that being said, I want to thank you and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.